Welcome everyone to Crowdplat and thanks for joining us. I am Twinkle Roy and joining with me today is my colleague Genevieve Lee and Sal Sarosh, who is the founder of Crowdplat. So today we will bring you specific trends which we will be discussing, including AutoML tools that are automating parts of data scientists' job, principles for making AI models infinitely scalable in production, and the impact of consolidating the remote working economy, which we are in today since 2019, on data science employment using crowdsourcing. So particularly, we want to focus on improving data literacy of the global workforce across all industries, from desk to factories to farms through competition space by the Bitgrit platform. Okay, so our very special guests to guide us through these questions are Jorge Quinteros, who's the Chief Data Scientist at Bitgrit, and Zia Holder, who's the Digital Marketing Lead at Bitgrit. Jorge is the in-house data scientist and responsible for all machine learning tasks related to competition, and Zia, who is the Digital Marketing Lead at Bitgrit, manages the marketing side of the structures. So for Zia and Jorge, I have a question. Both of you are currently working at Bitgrit, but you also had other roles which you've been working for years and working on kind of process engineering and optimizations, as well as a lot of managing and consulting from Zia's end. So what has your journey been so far?
Sure, I can start. Thank you, first of all, for having me here. So the way that I entered into this field is actually through media, advertising, and marketing initially. So I worked in media and advertising for quite a while, back in my home country of Trinidad and Tobago. And then I moved to Japan. And what happened is there was a shift because my field before dealt with communication a lot. I was now in a different place where I didn't necessarily have all the tools to communicate the best way. So I shifted my skills into marketing a bit, and I worked in marketing strategy at an e-commerce company, basically. And from there, I was coaching and consulting global leaders and executives who were Japanese or came from this area and wanted to expand. So eventually it got into consulting with them and coaching them, and that's how I sort of found my way into this niche of tech and tech-related startups as well.
That sounds so nice. Jorge, do you want to share your journey with us?
Yeah, sure. So for me, I have a background actually in computer science, and I was on my way before that to becoming electrical engineering. I was saying that, but then I took a class on machine learning, and I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. So I kind of started to transition from electrical engineering to computer science. And actually, also when I was in uni, I thought I was going to, keep going to academia, try to get a PhD or something. But then I realized that wasn't for me, really. I didn't really want to study forever. But after I graduated, I started working in software engineering, web development. I did some research. And then after 2 years of working, I kind of realized that I really wanted to kind of go back to the data science, field. So I started, refreshing up and got a job, a small, couple of months job at a public institution here in Chile, doing data analysis for I think it was actually pretty confidential, so I can't really, I'm not supposed to give details about that. But after that, I moved to Japan and I joined Bitgrit. And it's been really, I mean, I one of the reasons I could join Bitgrit was because I had, I could speak English. I could speak some Japanese. So that all that that I learned by working with people from different backgrounds while doing research and stuff. That helped me to get to Bitgrit. And one thing I like about Bitgrit is that I'm not only using my technical skills. But I really need to get out of my comfort zone and communicate ideas with people from different backgrounds, different cultures, in more than one languages. And that's been pretty, enriching by itself.
Wow, that sounds really incredible. I mean, both you and Zia have such an incredible journey and such a phenomenal background. It is indeed inspiring what you have achieved so far. Um, so my next question is for um, Jorge. So what are your current projects and what is it that you've been currently working on which has been quite different or life-changing or maybe exciting for you?
So now we were working on this LeadCoin project, the competition. That went, I think, pretty well. But now that that project is finished, I'm starting to work on some new competitions that are meant for our community, so that they can learn and improve their skills. They're not really for a client, but more for um, to keep our community engaged and to actually have them learn stuff. I'm also working on some external data analysis stuff that's not for competitions, and I'm also working with a different team on it's a web and app project that involves blockchain for security storing personal data and identities, and that's pretty exciting. But it's kind of a bit far away from the data science field.
I think data privacy and blockchain is going to be the next big thing. So Bitgrit and Crowdplat collaborated recently on the competition, NLP competition, which you had mentioned recently. So how was your experience spearheading that competition as a chief data scientist?
Well, it was quite challenging, especially at the beginning, because the requirements and the problem were not really clear. So we had to have a lot of back and forth to understand what exactly was required. We had all time differences and stuff, and the problem wasn't really meant to directly be put into a competition. So we had to, do some, basically go into uncharted territory to transform that thing into a machine learning problem. But yeah, apparently it went well, despite that it was a bit challenging and confusing at the beginning. It was really fun for me to learn about, some biomedical stuff, talk with experts, like really high-level experts from different fields. And yeah, I mean, we were able to run the competition successfully, and despite that I was a bit scared that the problem would be maybe too difficult or confusing. But yeah, it ended up being okay.
Um, I'm sure Sal has something to add to it as well because the competition's been a really very long steering competition so far. It expanded for up to more than a year and it had two phases as well. So, Sal, would you like to add something?
Yeah. First, I want to say, Jorge, incredible job on it. I think you definitely did an outstanding job. I think everyone is impressed. We're getting a lot of kudos, a lot of prizes for the work you did. I think it was almost 10 months, 9 to 10 months, start to end. Started July last year, so June, July last year, and I think ended up in April this year. So it's a pretty good effort. I think we finished it 2 months early, right? It's supposed to go all the way till June, so at least finished 2.5 months early, which is amazing. Again, kudos to you, Jorge, for pulling it through, and for Twinkle and everyone else for the contribution. So really nice effort. That's good work, and think we'll move on to the next questions.
So that sounds really incredible. So my next question is for Zia. So I believe that you are based out of Tokyo. So what are your current projects? And firstly, how has Tokyo been treating you as well?
Yeah. Well, Tokyo is a gigantic cosmopolitan city, so it's been treating me quite well. There are so many different things going on. And to answer about what we are doing at Bitgrit right now, we're actually working on a series of learning competitions. So, a part of trying to develop the AI industry even further and beyond is making sure that we nurture the curious young minds who are getting into modeling and data science and things like that. So we are working on a series of learning competitions for beginner to novice or intermediate level people. We already have one up on our platform, and we are continuing processing, doing all of these things to get these competitions out, and have anyone actually come in to compete or just try. In addition to that, we are also working on developing our platform into an AI marketplace. So that will allow easy access for trading and requesting AI services and solutions as products. So it's kind of like a Pokemon situation. This is the next evolution of the competition platform that we have created here at Bitgrit.
Wow, thank you so much, Zia. That sounds really inclusive, given that everyone can participate in it and it's AI controlled as well. That's what the age that we are going to be living in soon as well. So you joined the Litcoin NLP project towards the end as well, and you were taking care of the digital marketing side of it. So how was your experience with the project?
It was definitely jumping into the deep end of things, but this was, I think, sort of a trial by fire. So there were so many things that had happened before, and I needed to condense them, summarize them, make them palatable for the public. So that's what I did. And in doing that, I had to also sort of combine lots of tech language with a lot of scientific language, but also make it very readable and understandable for the public. So that was definitely a task, but I think things like this make the world run smoother. And so it was really enjoyable. Yes.
Yeah, I can imagine that it's not easy to interpret scientific knowledge in a very layman term and expand it out to the public to understand what's happening. So, from the marketing side or the digital marketing side, what are the challenges that you usually face while running such competitions?
Yeah, from the marketing side, we have to make sure that we are getting a lot of reach because this industry, this arena that we work in is truly global. We have people from all parts of the world, and so ensuring that we get the message out there, ensuring that the right people understand it, the right people are receiving it, I think that's one of the biggest challenges that we have to deal with. And that's one of the biggest challenges that I had to deal with this competition as well.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. I would now ask Genevieve. She's going to take over for the next few questions.
Hi, so I have a few questions for Zia about the competition platform and crowdsourcing in general. From a marketing point of view, compared to the conventional model of outsourcing AI solutions to just a handful of engineers, what are the advantages of hosting an AI competition?
Thank you, Genevieve. That's a great question, actually. So again, competitions tend to gather really passionate individuals from all over the world. So guaranteeing high-level solutions is one of the things that a competition platform can do, because people are working together. People are improving on models that have already been created. And even incremental improvements make a huge difference. Um, it's actually been researched a bit as well that models created in competitions tend to perform better than if they are created with an in-house team. So the power of collective intelligence again continues to work in that way. And then I think deploying large teams to optimize models can be really expensive. So one of the benefits of a competition platform is that you can see the really great benefits of creating AI models, but they are cheaper or less expensive to produce. So I think it's a net positive overall using this kind of platform.
I think it's great that we're allowing new talent to pop up everywhere with competitions. So, what does organizing a competition entail in terms of the data, the timeline, appointing a lead, and what kind of market research is required to see if contestants would really be drawn to a certain competition?
Okay, I think that is those are two very in-depth questions, so I'm going to try to answer as best as I can. As far as actually putting on a competition like this, our competition operations team, run by the wonderful Raquel, along with the data science team, make sure that our problem statement is appropriate for an algorithm. So first we have to figure out, is this something that can be tackled with machine learning or with an AI model? And then those teams work closely with the clients to ensure that there's enough data to make a truly challenging competition. Depending on the competition, our team can work from the data pre-processing stage until the final stage where top winners' solutions are evaluated and shared on our leaderboard, or positions are shared. So people know where they are. There is sort of a progress tracker. That's me explaining it, but I'm really sure Jorge can give you much more information on that end. As far as your second question, what did we do with LitPoint specifically? We actually spoke to many institutions and universities to figure out what the zeitgeist is at the moment. We wanted to find out, is this a problem that people are thinking of? Is this something that needs to be solved and will have benefits that will redound far beyond the time that the competition has finished, right? In addition to this, we leveraged some of our connections within this field or this arena. And we had partners and advisors and consultants respond to our initial ideas. Their guidance, as well as some basic market research that we did on the current competition landscape, really helped us to figure out if this competition is viable and valuable.
Thank you so much, Zia, for answering these very in-depth questions and giving us more of a perspective on the marketing side. So I guess my next questions are for Jorge, and this is more about AI and ML. I know you work on a lot of models, machine learning, and optimization problems. We're going to talk about being able to interpret machine learning algorithms as well as fine-tuning them, given that most of your projects involve these things. So tell us, why does interpretable machine learning matter? What is it? And is it the same as explainable AI?
A lot of machine learning algorithms work as a black box. So you just input the data and then get an answer, but don't really know why it led to that answer, which is can be a problem in many contexts. So there are some contexts where that doesn't matter. too much as long as it correctly predicts what you want. But in other contexts, it's really important, especially where the decisions are more sensitive. And that's where people would like to understand why better instead of just blindly trusting the model. So one example that I've worked with is with medical decision making. So in this context, explainability becomes very important, since no one wants to be told that they have or don't have cancer just because a computer said so. So yeah, explainable AI is a big subset of AI, where you can basically, in some or other way, understand the why on this result. And yeah, in some fields, in some subfields, it's very important. In some others, it really isn't that important.
Okay. Thanks for giving insight into that. And it seems that everything is moving into the cloud, which is great. But how much of it is a privacy challenge?
So for some, so nowadays, cloud services are really powerful, and they actually take care of a lot of security stuff for you. So in some ways, especially when you're dealing with big projects, it's actually easier to work in the cloud because they manage a lot of the stuff that you don't do if you work locally. So it depends, of course, on how sensitive is the data, how much do you trust these cloud services. But in general, I think they're pretty good. They're evolving every day, and they not only provide a lot of security, but also a lot of tools that can actually make your workflow more efficient.
I see. So with that, is there a way to efficiently decide on an algorithm that could automate your work from the cloud?
So actually, yeah. Actually, when you use these cloud services, there's like a lot of new tools out there. Of course, they recommend you algorithms that work better for certain types of data, but it's actually pretty incredible how advanced these services are. They can recommend you what to use based on the data. They can do data processing by themselves. And there's a lot of stuff that you can automate within your pipeline. As for me, anyway, for small tests, I usually still just use my local computer. But if I have to work in something bigger, I just send everything to the cloud, connect to my programming environment, and just work the same as if everything was local. But now I can access these powerful GPUs and stuff, and I also can access algorithms that I cannot use locally because they are just too complex or require some special environment settings.
Yeah, it's very interesting how a lot of things are getting automated and everything's becoming easier to work on now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jorge, for answering those questions, and I'll hand it off to Twinkle to ask a few more.
Awesome. Thanks, Genevieve. So my next few questions are based on model evaluation or evaluation in general. So my first question is for Jorge. Firstly, I hope you're having a great time in Chile. And my second question is, so how do you evaluate your best performance models, especially in the case of the Litcoin NLP challenge? Did it take a while for you to come up that this image recognition, word recognition model is working best for your data set, and this is going to be your best fitting model under which your competition is going to be examined?
Okay, first of all, thank you. I'm doing great in Chile. So from a competition perspective, in general, as long as the some model complies with the rest of the rules, like having decent documentation, or not doing anything that can be considered cheating. It is mostly based on the score, which is it comes from some metric that we defined before the competition. In this particular case of the Litecoin challenge, we had to sort of come up with a specific score that could take into account different things, different parts of the what was being predicted. But of course, that some model has a good score, that doesn't mean that in the real world it's going to be the best model necessarily, because you need to take into account a lot of stuff, like if speed, simplicity, in general, like how efficient is this model. So those are things that are measured in other ways, which in the end become a huge factor when you actually want to put them into use.
I see. That makes a lot of sense. I think cheating could be an important factor in competitions. People could easily take codes from GitHub and put it up there. So I think having a very safe metric would ensure that the competition is running very smoothly. So moving on to Zia. So apart from the data science evaluation metrics, would you say that there are metrics that are designed from the marketing side as well, to finalize on the winners for a competition?
Yeah, absolutely not. We do not have anything to do with evaluation of the models or anything like that. We are simply the mouth, not necessarily the brain at this moment.
That sounds kind of a plan, but you also need to follow up with the winners, I suppose, after the competition is done. So, uh, does that become challenging to you?
Well, for us, yes, we do absolutely have to be the connective tissue. So we ensure that all teams, all competitors are communicating with each other well. So that part, yes, we definitely into. But as far as communicating results and things like that, it becomes complicated when we have to operate within the time frame of releasing the results publicly as well as privately to the competitors. Then it becomes a little bit tricky. And of course, as you know, in digital marketing, there are a million and one channels of communication these days. So we do have to wrangle all of those things, and ensure that no one or no audience is surprised and unprepared for the information that we're sharing.
So I have a quick follow-up question. So in a scenario where there is a potential leak of a winner information, so how would you be dealing with that?
Well, it's interesting that you say leak because, again, as with all competitions, there is a leaderboard. So once people have submitted their files, once they are within the parameters or they've been evaluated by our systems, then it's very transparent. So people do know where they stand. There is no real leak unless we have people who are disqualified or we have parties who are ineligible for certain prizes. Then things become tricky, but this is a competition and a transparent process. So we don't have too much risk with that.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. So, Zia and Jorge, do you have any parting thoughts?
No, I just wanted to say that it was nice to work with you on this Lipkai project. I think I can speak for everyone that we learned a lot about different stuff. It was quite a challenge. It was quite long, sometimes a bit scary, I guess. But yeah, it was a really good project. I hope that we can have much more like even more interesting competitions in the future. Yeah.
Okay, and just from my end, I wanted to say that this partnership with Crowdplat allowed Bitgrit to work with huge influences in the world of STEM, like the NASA Tournament Lab or NIH. And I think it is helping us to position our company as a powerhouse in this field. And we are really happy and thankful that we had this opportunity. So those are my parting thoughts. It's been a blast.
Thank you so much, Zia and Jorge. I'm sure we are stoked working with you as well. Sal, do you have any last parting thoughts to say?
I was going to echo Zia's comments. It's actually incredibly, we're also really excited and happy to work with you on this. I think some of the capabilities and the expertise you brought was amazing. I think it's definitely good to, see all the great, amazing things you guys can do, both on the Bitgrit platform and the work that Jorge and Zia and everyone else brought on. So I think we're definitely excited to work with you more. As you probably heard, the NASA Tournament Labs is getting bigger, right? There's going to be more work coming out in the next 3 years. So I'm absolutely confident there's going to be more opportunities for us to work on together. So we're looking forward to it.
That sounds great.
Wonderful. Yes, we are excited too.
Cheers to the future endeavors. Over to you, Genevieve.
Yes, just to wrap up, I want to thank Zia and Jorge. Zia, you gave us insights into the soft skills that one should seek for handling this mammoth task of organizing competitions so meticulously. And Jorge, you talked about the hard skills that are required of data scientists around data structures, algorithms, and the competition space today. It was a pleasure to speak with you guys tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.